Hey guys, I wanted to do this small update video just to show you what I did to counter dinos. And I can't even tell you which dinos I had. I did obviously buy a microscope on Amazon quick, but I took advantage of assuming they were the water column dinos that I could easily, or at least have a better way of fighting them. So this tank here, we're pushing about, I don't know, 8 months in, and it's been really flawless for me. And I really have to contribute that to the Algae Scrubber. I run that thing when on opposite schedule of the radions up here. And if you watched any of my other videos on this tank, I only had the two XR15s, the G4s. I recently added a G6 XR15, the blue one, just to bump up the par. You can see somewhere where the SPSs are, roughly on this top area here. I was only getting 160, and I wanted that to be like 100 more plus. So that 115 in the middle, actually they're all grouped together at 70%. Right now we're putting out about a little bit about like 230, 250, give or take on that whole row. On the back wall, more towards that, I'm getting more par in the 300 range. And on the sand is the best. I'm pulling up around 50 averaging all throughout the sand bed, whereas before I was like 20. So, super happy with that. But anyway, what had happened, now I test my phosphates and nitrates once a week. I use the HANA checkers, and I'm steady. I've been steady at 6 nitrates and 0.05 phosphates, 0.08 phosphates. Like, it doesn't ever move. It's been 5 weeks since a water change. And my ALK stays steady, 8.5 to 9. Calcium, the 430, 450, and mag about 13, 10. Again, these things fluctuate a little bit, but very, very steady. Just dosing all for reef. I was dosing a little bit of the balling bee just to increase the ALK, because if anyone doses all for reef, if you have little ALK swings, you got to dose an ALK supplement until you get to where you want, and then increase your all for reef a little bit, and then boom, it's stable again. So anyway, did that, or everything was fine there, doing great. And then I come back from Reefapalooza, and you can see like my little frag racks here. Got some really cool stuff there. I was very happy with what I got. Write a list. If you haven't wrote a list, like, just know what you want to get. And then the hard part is like going around and not stopping at every vendor to see what they have, but at least going around and being like, oh, I saw that over there for $50. You've got it for 25, and I'll take it. Like, try to look for the deals. So anyway, had a real fun time, like, sniffing out the good deals, and did really good. I come back, I dip all my corals, I start to put them in here, and I see all these like spaghetti strings of dark, just string stuff with like, some say it's like a snot bubble, coming up. And I apologize, I don't have any preview shots of it because I was very concerned. But, I stare at this tank every night for like at least a good half hour with the the lens. Jeez, I'm losing it. The flipper, this thing. What do you call this thing? That thing. And I just zoom in on like every corner and just sit there in awe and just like look at stuff, right? And everything's fun and looking good. I go to Reefapalooza, like 3 days later, and I come back and I've got like all this stringy stuff. I've got stringy stuff on the MP40s. I've got stringy stuff on the anemone basket, and the frag racks. Like, it just looks like crap. And then I got stringy stuff on, like, all these zoas were closed up. And then on top of the stringy stuff, I had like, a clear little bubble, typical dino, right? So what I did, the first thing I did was like, well, let me test phosphates and nitrates. So that's what I did. My phosphates were 0.05, like spot on. And I expected, because I wasn't sure, my nitrates to be the same, and they were 0, like 0.5. Like you might as well just say 0. So basically both parameters bottomed out, and Dinos came. Now I didn't have, cyano on the sand. I had like dark patches though of the stringy stuff. So like the stringy stuff was just hanging around on the sand, and it was just like sticking up. It was all over the corals. I'm like, oh no, I've done like 8 months without any sort of like freaky stage happening. I'm like, what do I got? So first thing I did was I had in the closet, I had NeoNitrate. So I just was like, all right, I'm gonna put a couple caps of this stuff in. Let's bring it up to like a slow go. Let's bring it up, I don't know, maybe 2 parts, and then over a couple days we'll get it back to like 6. That's where I usually keep my nitrates, at 6. So I did that, and then over the course of the next week, so Reefapalooza, I went there Saturday, Sunday. So like a whole week, a week and a half later, I monitored those nitrates and didn't touch the flow, didn't do anything. What I did with the lights, I only put on blue. Okay, so I went into the app there, Mobius, changed everything to blue only, and I cut the spectrum from when they were on from, basically they're on for 12 hours a day. I changed that to 6. Just enough to give some corals, some light, right? I didn't do a blackout. I didn't wrap this thing in garbage bags. I didn't do any of that. And just continued to monitor nitrates, and everything was going fine. So I got it back up to 6. And 2 other things. I've got this little Amazon 9-watt UV. This thing's a lifesaver. I mean, sure, I could plumb an aqua, whatever you call them, into the sump and spend a whole lot of money. But man, when you need one in a pinch, you could just stick it to the glass, run it, it's fine. At least in a 100-gallon tank like this, it works fine. So I did that, and then I also, so every month what I do down here is I run the Dr. Tim's gels. So if you could see right there, every 30 days I replace it, and I've been doing that for 8 months. So I mean, I've really been pretty successful in just keeping, beneficial bacteria in here, fighting off the bad stuff. But what I failed to do was I thought everything was just super stable, and the nitrates went to 0. So, I'm killing it with this scrubber here. I mean, this thing pulls out, I mean, it's pretty good. Let's see what I've got today. And I cleaned this last week. I mean, it does a great job. I mean, I don't know. I think this thing is probably the best investment I have in this entire tank, except for the lights. But really, really impressive. I mean, it's doing its thing. And maybe it's doing too much. I don't know. Maybe I got to kick back the lights, a little bit. But other than that, I mean, the roller mat's doing fine. Like I said, I'm only doing the all for reef there, and I had the balling bee in the other one. And then I just continue to skim. I kept that skimmer. So during this whole process, I usually keep the skimmer off for 4 hours. So I run it for 20, off for 4. I kept it only off for an hour during that whole week and a half, 2-week process. So then so that night, what I also noticed at night, if you poke around with a flashlight, the sand bed was starting to look cleaner, right? Because those lights aren't on it, nothing's coming out. So I knew I had the type of dino, I think, that was releasing at nighttime, right? So I was getting it in the water column, I was taking care of it, the bacteria wasn't, I think a combination of things kind of worked. But the main thing, guys, is just watch your tank. You gotta sit up here and just stare at it. And if you see a little even if it's a little aptasia, kind of a little arm growing out of the corner, at least you know you got an aptasia there. If you see that dino string with a little bubble on the end, you got a dino. You see some green hair algae coming. But just monitor, and I think I really caught it. I mean, way early. I mean, there's not one string here anymore. I did buy about 20 more snails. I've had the same cleanup crew for 8 months, and they probably exhausted themselves. Like, they're still alive. I mean, I see some dead snails on the sand, you know. But so I just went up the road and bought 20 more snails just to kind of go at it, and they're doing their thing. They're kind of all over. They're small, but hey, whatever. So it could have been a mix of different things that helped out. But yeah, just to say, I mean, that's what I did. You could go down a long road with dinos. I've read nothing but like horror stories people have. I mean, like, even after months and months, they're still battling them. You know, I just think I got lucky in a sense that, okay, I'm doing a water change like once a month, and I haven't hit it yet, so all of a sudden they appeared. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do a water change now. That'll just feed them. So, I mean, like, I'm just going to give it another month before I even think about doing a water change. And, I mean, like, that's it. So, yeah, reduce your lights. I didn't have to do an entire blackout at all. I just turned them all blue. I didn't reduce the intensity either. These are running at 70%. And that's it. You know, get some, you know, you could use the Microbacter 7. I've read a ton of things on that. Great success, but you definitely want to put some bacteria in here. You could also do some pods, some copepods in here, you know, if you run into that. And yeah, I mean, other than that, just look. As soon as you see something a little funky, you know, react. Try to be proactive around it. You know, we're all so used to being reactive, but if you could be proactive, yeah. And I mean, even this cage here where I feed them the algae or the seaweed there, I mean, that thing was just full of string. You know, the power heads, like I said, all the frag racks, every bit of those zoas on the top here, the alves. I mean, this thing wasn't even coming out. It just had strings and strings of shit on it. You know, and it's just like, all right, you know, like, what can I do here without, you know, I've seen people rebooting their tanks because they can't beat it. I mean, God, I just couldn't imagine. So anyway, I just wanted to share a short video on what I did. I'll list what I did down in the description so you could see, but feel free to comment, or if you need any other further explanation of what I just showed you. But the tank's looking good. I mean, I did have fun at Reefapalooza. Like I said, I got some cool stuff. I think probably one of the coolest things is I wheeled and dealed this guy for a package thing. I wanted that jelly bean. And we did a little deal. Like, if I bought a couple Zoas, he threw that in at a cool price. So that's awesome. And I never even had a branching chalice either. I mean, that's even cool. Both these were, this Millie and I think that's a strawberry shortcake, they were free with a buy. I won one of the raffles, so I think I got the chalice with a win from the raffle, gift certificate. But yeah, everything's cooking. I have to say, like, the fox face, I don't know if you could see, or the fox flame rather, I've had this for only 2 months. And I've got more heads on that thing coming out, more yellow in color. The whole foot is grown over. So that's a quick grower. If anyone's got those, highly recommend. Great colors too with the XR15 blue, that new blue. I mean, it's cool, man. I thought I had really cool lights, but man, what an awesome light. And then yeah, the back wall, they've met, so they've now they're growing and doing their thing. I can't wait for the Tiger Lepto to. Definitely a more slower grower than the Neon, but they'll meet and hopefully have some fun and get some cool colors there. And I think we all know the Walt Disneys, they like to grow out and grow a nice foot before they go tall. That thing's been the same height for probably 2 months, 3 months. I don't know when probably April-ish. I can't remember. but it was just the height. It was just the stick. I mean, it's fanned out nice, growing a good foot. And yeah, I mean, I can't complain. So just to say, you know, everyone gets spooked with algae and dinos and different things going on and blooms in their tank, and what do you do? Just take an easy approach. You know, just start basic, test your main parameters, make sure you're in check. You know, don't rush to do a water change. I mean, in some cases you're only feeding the problem. But yeah, I mean, just dim the lights a little bit, make sure your stuff's in check. And you're skimming good, you know, and just monitor. But anyway, guys, happy reefing. Let me know if you need any help. Just write a comment.